how are you? You're able to say things that are much more profound. Singing takes me to a mystical place where language doesn't matter anymore, where anything is possible. All I wanted was to be taken away from the everyday world and into that realm where I could express myself without thinking. When I was alone with my thoughts, my mind filled with worries and fears. Music stopped the noise, made me feel confident, and took me to a pure place of expressing myself exactly as I wanted to be seen and heard. Singing took me into the presence of the divine. As long as I was singing, I was half outside the world. I'd be playing in the backyard like any kid would, but my thoughts and feelings and hopes were somewhere else. I worked hard to make things look the way I wanted them to. I took myself very seriously when I shot silly music videos to Mariah Carey songs in my girlfriend's backyard. By age 8, I thought I was a director. Nobody in my town seemed to be doing stuff like that, but I knew what I wanted to see in the world, and I tried to make it so. Artists make things and play characters because they want an escape into faraway worlds, and escape was exactly what I needed. I wanted to live inside my dreams, my wonderful fictitious world, and never think about reality if I could help it. Singing bridged reality and fantasy, the world I was living in, and the world I desperately wanted to inhabit. Tragedy runs in my family. My middle name comes from my father's mother, Emma Jean Spears, who went by Jean. I've seen pictures of her, and I understand why everyone said we look alike. Same blonde hair, same smile. She looked younger than she was. Her husband, my grandfather, June Spears Sr., was abusive. Jean suffered the loss of a baby when he was only 3 days old. June sent Jean to Southeast Louisiana Hospital, a by all accounts horrible asylum in Mandeville where she was put on lithium. In 1966, when she was 31, my grandmother Jean shot herself with a shotgun on her infant son's grave, just over 8 years after his death. I can't imagine the grief that she must have felt. The way people talk about men like June in the South is to say nothing was ever good enough for him, and that he was a perfectionist, that he was a very involved father. I would probably put it more harshly than that. A sports fanatic, June made my father exercise long past exhaustion. Each day when my father finished basketball practice, no matter how tired and hungry he was, he still had to shoot 100 more baskets before he could come inside. June was an officer for the Baton Rouge Police Department, and he eventually had 10 children with 3 wives. And as far as I can tell, no one has one good word to say about the first 50 years of his life. Even in my family, it was said that the Spears men tended to be bad news, especially in terms of how they treated women. Jean wasn't the only wife June sent to the mental hospital in Mandeville. He sent his second wife there, too. One of my father's half-sisters has said that June sexually abused her starting when she was 11 until she ran away at 16. My father was 13 when Jean died on that grave. I know that trauma is part of why my father was how he was with my siblings and me. Why, for him, nothing was ever good enough. My father pushed my brother to excel in sports. He drank until he couldn't think anymore. He'd disappear for days at a time. When my father drank, he was extremely mean. But June softened as he got older. I didn't experience the vicious man who had abused my father and his siblings, but rather a grandfather who seemed patient and sweet. My father's world and my mother's world were completely opposite from each other. According to my mother, my mom's mom, my grandmother Lillian Lily Portell, was from an elegant, sophisticated family in London. She had an exotic air about her that everyone commented on. Her mother was British and her father was from the Mediterranean island of Malta. Her uncle was a bookbinder. The whole family played instruments and loved to sing. During World War II, Lily met an American soldier, my grandfather, Barney Bridges, at a dance for the soldiers. He was a driver for the generals, and he loved driving fast. She was disappointed, though, when he brought her with